Money at Work Continuing Education Series brought to you by Millionaire Mindset Life. Today what we're discussing is, at this time of the year, people are creating resolutions, they're creating goals for the new year. However, statistics tell us that by mid to late January or early February, most people have given up on their goals and resolutions. Why is that? Because goals and resolutions don't work. What does work is changing things like habits, routines, and behaviors that will give us a pathway to actually accomplishing those goals and resolutions. If we were to go back in time this time last year, uncrumple a bunch of goals and resolutions, people probably still have the same ones from last year going into this year. Why is that? Because they didn't do anything to create a pathway to reach those goals. They didn't change habits, they didn't change behaviors, they didn't change routines, they didn't change schedules. They just had an idea of what they wanted to accomplish with no plan of action and execution. And remember, a goal without a plan of action and execution is just a wish. Personal habits, whether you have good habits or bad habits, they're just the result of many small decisions that people make over time. So that's pretty easy to understand. Your financial habits, if you look what you do right now, financially speaking, those financial habits are just the combination, the culmination of many small decisions that people make over time. Where we are right now, and we're talking about our finances today, where we are today, financially speaking, is just a reflection of all of our past habits. So if we are not in a financial place that we want to be today, it's because our past habits have led us there. If you look into the future and you want to create a desired end outcome, it requires that we have new habits. And creating new habits, behaviors, routines, and schedules is exactly how you're going to get to that end desired outcome versus just drifting like we have been probably doing into an unknown outcome that we find ourselves in today. To make personal changes, you got to focus on habits and routines rather than the overall events or success metrics. The goals and the resolutions will happen if you make personal changes focused on creating new good habits and replacing and breaking the old bad habits. There's really 3 steps to effectively change habits, and those are called the 3 R's. That's reminder, routine, and reward. So reminders are just triggers that can initiate behaviors. So those triggers can initiate good behaviors or they can initiate bad behaviors. Probably in the past, a lot of the triggers have caused bad behaviors. So you need to understand what a reminder is, what that triggers, and then create new reminders and triggers that initiate positive behaviors that are going to lead you to where you're trying to go. Routines are just behaviors or the actions that people take. So once those reminders and those triggers are put into place, it's going to create routines. And those routines are the behaviors that we take. And psychologically speaking, our brain loves patterns, whether we are on a good pattern or a bad pattern. Brain just wants to continue to do what you've done. So once you create those new habits, behaviors, and routines, the brain will want to continue down that cycle. You just have to break the old behaviors and create new ones. And then the rewards. What are you actually gaining from those changed behaviors? Well, there are going to be some end goals and destinations that you're leading up to, but along the way, you have to reinforce and reward yourself and continuously motivate yourself. If you're doing the right thing, then make sure that you're continuing to tell yourself that, give yourself those affirmations, and continually go down that path of positive change behaviors that lead to the ultimate rewards. Financially speaking, 2 points. Where are you now? Where do you want to be? What's that perfect financial situation for yourself? And then you've got to decide who you want to be, prove it to yourself every day. If you want to create a new financial position for yourself, create that financial desired life that you want, then it takes day in, day out work. And that means that you have to go out every single day and be someone that proves it to yourself every single day. This is like a boxing match. Day in, day out, there's different rounds. You have to win enough rounds to win the match. And that means being cognizant of who you are, who you want to be, and how you're going to prove that to yourself every single day. You're not setting deadlines. Deadlines are just something in the future that as they get closer and closer, you get more worried about, and you probably end up moving that deadline if you can. So what you want to do is not create deadlines, but actually set schedules that you can follow day in, day out. Schedules will lead to creating a pathway and a bridge over to what you're trying to accomplish, because schedules are something that you can have control over every day, every hour, whatever it is that you set your schedules for, and whatever's in those schedules, you have control over. Set the right schedules, create the right habits, behaviors, and routines, and watch what happens. Goals, remember, are very lofty. Habits are bite-sized. Habits are actually stuff that you can control, that you can start to change right now. Breaking bad habits, ushering in new habits, that's going to create, like I said, the pathway to get us to our goals. Also, you have to understand that goals take superhuman effort. Habits are really automatic. They're maybe not in the beginning, but once you establish those habits, get used to them, and then work with those over a small period of time, they do become automatic, they do become routine, and they become very habitual. And then once they become habit, it's very, very easy to continue down that path. Know your why. This is so, so important, because you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, you're going to have maybe some really bad days, but you need a constant reinforcement or motivation to take the necessary action steps to create those new habits, create those new behaviors, routines, and schedules. Your why is going to be the motivating factor. It's not just good enough to understand and see your why. You've got to put yourself down the road, being able to be at that place that you want to be, feel it with emotion. The more that you can bring into your why, the more that you can design the why, the more you understand your why and can feel your why, the easier it's going to be for you to use that as a motivating force and factor. You have to strive for progress, incremental progress, moving forward, step by step, day by day. Progress is greater than perfection. If you're waiting around for the perfect moment where everything's perfectly aligned, that's just a veiled way to procrastinate and kick the can down the road. So look for progress on a day-to-day basis. And then don't bite off more than you can chew, because it will most certainly bite you. So when you're looking at making changes, you're looking at trying to accomplish things financially, then you have to understand that don't bite off more than you can chew. Understand what you can do now, what maybe you can do down the road, and concentrate on what you control the most. Reflect along the way. And the reflection is important because of two reasons. Number one, what's working? So you understand how to go back to that and continue to do that. Number two, what's not working? If something's not working, reflection gives you an opportunity to try to understand why is it not working, and maybe make some changes within that to see if you can start getting more and more and more things to work. Stack your habits. So, this is an example of habit stacking. If an old habit is to wake up and brush your teeth, maybe stack a habit in between that of doing 5 push-ups. And that's more along the lines of maybe a physical fitness goal, but it works the same with your money habits. You have old habits, insert some new money habits in there. Don't make it overwhelming to where you dread it. Remember, small incremental steps forward. Stacking small good habits, replacing the bad habits, is going to lead you to your goals and destinations that you desire. Celebrate your victories. We just talked about the overall rewards of making changes in schedules, behaviors, routines, and habits, financially speaking. But you have to celebrate your small victories along the way, because if you postpone celebrating the victory to actually reach some big lofty goal, it's not going to work. You have to continue to motivate yourself. You have to continue to give yourself affirmations of positivity that this is working, that you're doing well, and those celebrations along the way really help to keep you motivated. So here's some pitfalls to avoid. When you're trying to make financial changes in the new year, if you're trying to get to those new desired end outcomes that you actually want, remember, where are you now? Where do you want to go? Some pitfalls to avoid along the way. Trying to change everything at once. That's an overwhelming part of not being able to accomplish what you want. If you're trying to change everything at once, you're probably not going to change anything at all, because It's just too big of a change. It's too much at one time. You've got to break it down. Starting with a habit that's too big. So, trying to change everything at one time, or trying to tackle maybe a habit that's way too big. Remember, if you were in a forest and you had to chop down a tree with an axe, it's not going to take one axe swing. So you have to understand what you're facing, what you're trying to do, and then go at it and change the small stuff first. A lot of small changes will create those positive ripple effects and enact big change. Also, you have to seek a ritual, not a result. And we've talked about this entire time. It's very, very important that you understand small incremental progress over X period of time gets you big results. So not going at it seeking a result, but seeking changes to rituals, creating new rituals, habits, behaviors, routines, schedules, all of these things that will lead to, over a time period, great improvement. Not changing your environment. If your environment's not working for you, then you have to change it. You need a positive environment. You need to control your environment, and you need to surround yourself with an environment that encourages you to keep going with those habit, schedule, routine, and behavior changes. Assuming small changes don't add up, because they definitely do. You can't change everything at one time. You can't tackle habits that may be too big, but you can do what we've been talking about continuously through all of this, which is small changes. Making those changes, understanding those small incremental steps forward, that small progress on a day in, day out basis over X period of time is really, really going to add up. And then finally, don't sweat the bad days. When you're trying to change something, there's going to be good days, bad days, maybe some really bad days. What you have to understand is you are making progress. So don't sweat the bad days. Don't concentrate on the bad days. Take a macro point of view and understand that you're making progress. You're making steps forward. Don't get too high. Don't get too low. Stay even keel. Understand what's going to make the change, which is the concentration on what we've been talking about. Habits, schedules, routines, and behaviors. Millionaire mindset life. Stretch your thinking, create your vision, and achieve.